Hi, and welcome back again to Words with Al. I saw my last video yesterday and I realized that obviously that was a really bad video. So I needed to make a new one. And so this is it. This is me making a new one. So I want to go through a lot of words um, that I've done in the short one. So I've done a short video about these words, some of them, not all. Um, that I have explained, but I've only explained them, yeah, very short and very fast. And I want to go in depth in them, and I'm going to go in depth in more languages as we go. But yeah, there's a lot to say here. Okay, so let's go on. Now we have the first one, lagoon, which is used in yeah, pretty much in English, in German. It's used everywhere now. Okay, this is a word that has traveled. But it consists of the two monosyllables, lag and which means wash myself or wash, I wash. Right. So this is it. There is nothing more to say here. This is a purely Albanian word. Now, do remember that, well, my theory is that Albanian in its monosyllabic form is actually Indo-European. I wouldn't even go too far to say that Proto-Indo-European even existed because of my theory that I have stated in the other video regarding vowels being the building blocks of language, and that we have misunderstood language because we don't look at it as sound. We look at it as a concept, as a psychological identity, a filter, cultural luggage, um, ideas, information, historical background, right? So this is what distinguishes these sounds, and obviously regional, where they inhabited, the place they inhabited. Obviously, they were different from the people. Let's say people living on the mountains were different from the people living in the forests, and then they were different from the ones living near the sea, etc., etc. So they would obviously not be able to relate to one another in their way of living, but they would be able to relate in language. Okay. Because the language theory is wrong, and they have misunderstood that language is actually very natural, logical, and should be intuitively understood across groups of people. Okay. Now, then we have the word happy. Yeah, as you can see, happy obviously has a semantic in English, meaning happy, joyous, content. But if you divide it, then you obviously don't know what it means, and even English can't explain it, and they don't really know why they ended up choosing these specific units of sound to describe happiness or joy or contentness. But that is because they have forgotten their roots. They do not, and most European languages today do not have any connections to their roots anymore, okay? Meaning their simplest forms of sound. Okay. But as you can see here, the breakdown ha and pi means literally to have eaten and to have drinking. So you are in a state of satisfaction. So you're full. I'm happy. Are you happy? Are you ha and pi? You're happy. Okay, cool. So, right. So this is it. So this is my attempt to actually unify us. We are much more linked. We are much more closer to one another than we think we are. We just think that we're not close to one another because we've conceptualized it. We've made it into concepts because we have different stories. Our people, the groups of people, went through different types of things, different types of circumstances. Some things that led them to get closer to one another and create stronger bonds, while others created more distance and fraction. So what we get here is people becoming groups and cliques, and they're suddenly talking in a way that only they talk. And then that becomes slowly and slowly more and more unintelligible to the other languages that it originated from. We see this in many, many other languages. We can both see artificial interference. Artificial interference means academical interference. You have academics, linguists, uh, language researchers, or just the elites, the knowledgeable, who go in and begin surgically changing the language to better suit a form of expression or to encapsulate an idea better, right? And that is called an artificial um, intervention. That is not organic. Organic is that organic means for something to arise of itself, as in the word boom, like I told you in the previous video. The word boom, or just a sound, boom, boom, boom. You can obviously get the idea of what we're talking about without having any prior knowledge, because the sound indicates something exploding, something having a lot of pressure and releasing. So, so that's it. Okay, so I have a lot of ideas here that I'm slowly just letting out. I'm just gonna, yeah, just like sprinkle you with a lot of ideas. But in the end, it will make sense. Right now, it might not, but it will. Okay, because it's very difficult to explain this across many languages and why we have become the way we have, and it's actually much more logical and yeah, quite stupid, really, that we've gotten so far away from the truth of how language developed. Okay, so let's go on. So that was the word happy. Then we have the word Benedict. This is a name, a Christian name. It appeared during the Christian times. It didn't appear before. But this is everywhere. This name is everywhere in Europe, and none of them know what it means. And it means a Benedi, Benedicta, Benedict, Benedi, Bendian, a Bendian. So he's a knowledgeable one. He's someone doing knowledge, someone doing learning. Okay. Yeah, because we get from its monosyllables, we get ben, dicta, knows how to do this. Okay, so he knows something. He knows something. Yeah. Okay. So let's go on. What we find here then is the word name, or believe it's actually a name, but then it became a word, or it was a word and then it became a name. I think that's a better one. No, it definitely was a name before. It was a name before because it was a verb. Here we find a verb, okay? Erudien, eruditen, which means someone who is protecting a knowledge. Okay, someone who is protecting knowledge itself, which is what the word in English means, someone who is very knowledgeable. Okay. And then we have the word esoteric. Esoteric is obviously also just only explained using Albanian, the Albanian monosyllables, that is, which, as I said previously, is the Indo-European. Okay. Yes. But here we find esoteron, and that means simply he who sees everything. I see that I put the ground and land there, but that's not it. It was supposed to be everything. Because we don't use terren for ground and land, but we use terren for everything, whilst terren became land for the Italian-speaking group. So this is how I divide it. Everybody's Albanian, but then everybody is, sorry, that's not it. Everybody's Indo-European, but then they develop their distinct features that makes them who they are. Okay. Mountain. This is also only explainable using Albanian monosyllables. Montan, montan. I montanat. Alla sod I montanat. Sa është një montan. Okay. So That pretty much explains to us what it does as well. This explains the meaning, what the mountain does, and it carries all, or carries the land. It's a grand mass that holds land, holds all. Okay. And then we have the word fire. Okay, so fire, we find different types of explanations as well. We find Thur, which means hell in Albanian, but we also find fur, and fur became then fur in German for fyr, and later up in Scandinavian form fyr, och ta fyr means literally to lit something or to burn something. So we can see how the word fur has been used differently at different stages of time. And this accounts also for the Albanian, because they would instantly think that this is just a bakery. But this is not a bakery. Fur is not a bakery, but fur is actually fire itself. Jar, is something else again. That is like a bonfire, okay? A bonfire. That's not fire, because this developed further on, okay? There's difference between a bonfire and a fire within where there are like stone stoves, like stone ovens, etc., etc. Or when it started being used more diversely. Okay. But the point here is that this word has changed semantics and phonetics throughout Europe, but the symbol means the same. The symbol is the same. The symbol is fire. The symbol is heat, burning, even anger. We find anger, fire, and we find also, but that's another word, fair, as in the fear of something, when you fear something. But I'm going to explain that in another one. That's a different one and has not exactly full, or has not any connections to this. But it does as well, because it is within what is hurting or what can hurt you, what is dangerous. So fire is also something you should fear. Okay, but okay, let me explain that later. Then we have the word rhythm. Rhythm is only explainable using Albanian as well, because we find a similar name, rym, ru, ru. Okay, and that means literally just flowing, something that is flowing, something that is waving, something that is streaming. That's what this means. And but it has had a semantic shift in English, where now it's just a rhythm, right? But that's not what it originally was. It was a stream, a waving stream, sure. And then later it had probably a rhythm, and then they could just extract or conceptualize it as if having rhythm. But then we lost the other one, because then they started using the Slavic stream. Yeah, strum. Okay. And then we find the word structure. So the word structure can only be explained using Albanian as well, which we then get stru, kto, re, which means lay something here new. Lay down here new. Lay down something new here. Okay, guys? So that is a structure. Okay. So this is just ridiculous how we don't know these things. Even I didn't know it, and I've spoken English for quite a long time, and Norwegian and Albanian, so I should have been able to see these connections, but we just didn't look at it this way. And because of this new perception or this new approach, things are just unraveling. Like everything is just unraveling for me. So I'm going through this little journey by myself. I don't have that many people to share this with. So for anyone of you listening, thank you for joining me, first of all. But also, it is my pleasure. Yeah. Okay. So we go on. We have then the word ego, and we literally get the meanings. Jo, I hear, which is what it is, because it is your internal voice in your head. It is the thing that you hear. It is your mind and emotions. Okay, the comment, analyze, assimilate. This is the mind doing its action, which we then is something I hear, I see. I see my mind. I see my thoughts. I hear it. Analyze, or have opinions even, right? So this is not a psychological dissociation, but rather the recognition that there is a mind in a body. Okay? The simple fact that within this body there is a mind, and I hear it. And that is ego. Okay. So that was that. B, well, I wanted to explain this. This is everywhere in all Indo-European languages, which is where we get the actual word being. So being, this is not an act, but rather your state. Yeah. Means to do, but better, yeah. It means to do, but it also means just to exist, just to be, right? Okay. Then we have the word create that came from the word kronos. Okay. Kron meaning crane, literally meaning a crane, a spring. Even the word crane comes from kronos. But it is a spring, a source, and it means, and it is found in other languages like Germanic and Albanian, not crew scratch, but crew down there in the well, or yeah, down there in the spring. Okay, but from there, because they saw their essence as being a spring, they could then create. Okay, they had that creative ability of creation. Okay, so even creative, okay, comes together with this, to create, to be creative, and it comes straight from the source. So the God, because God was always seen as the source. God was acknowledged as the source all the time. Now, they didn't have words for God, but rather looked at God through ideas. And the idea is the ancient idea, okay, before religion came and disrupted everything, was that God is the spring, and the spring is the actual source of creation. Thus, everything that you create comes from God. Okay. And we find other words as well. Kru, which means also head. So we are combining now. Our ancestors were so intelligently inclined. They were very spiritually inclined, but they were also very intelligent, because they placed together things. Okay, so God was a spring. Just have to look at the camera here so I can see where I'm going. So God was a spring, and from the spring comes creativity and creation. But they put also the head as being that part of that source, because that's where these three align, becoming God's source, the head, and then the action, the creative action. So they knew what they spoke of, and they knew what God was. And this is the most beautiful thing. Not like today, we don't know God today. Today, God is a hairy person up in the sky, who will judge you when you die. Well, we will see about that. But let's go on. We're not going to discuss God here now, but we will see that our ancestors knew about God, and they loved God. They respected God. God was everything and everywhere, and their admiration and wonder for God only started ceasing when religion came. Okay, because then we got a psychic God. But okay, now let's go back here. So we find the word re. So we know in English what that means. It means again or repeat, reoccurrence. So something happening again. But we don't get the word new from the English language or renovate, right? It means again, but we know also that it means new, but not really. We've forgotten a little bit that it also means new. Okay. But so this word has a lot of explanation because it all depends on the R's that are spelled, pronounced, and also what kind of E. Is it a Is it a Is it a E? Is it right? So we have a lot of. I can't pronounce them all. I'm sorry. I really want to, but I can't because I haven't learned them. Okay. But that doesn't change the fact here because all of these things mean fresh, new, or again. So it is something that is always happening again, which is why we find the word real. Real means the new all. Okay, yeah, we're gonna go into that. The new all. Okay, and what is all? Everything is all. So real is everything, but now. It is new now. So all now is real. Okay. See, I told you we are going to crush this. So linguists out there, you have no idea what is coming. Okay. So night. Let's explain night. This is also very easily explainable because this means naat. 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 Naatosh konjum. Right? So this means that I will go and sleep and with him, with God, which means they knew that once you are out of sense, you are closer to God. You are closer to death, because death is, in a sense, well, out of sense. So whenever you sleep, you're withdrawing from your senses and going back to God. And they knew that. They knew that God existed outside of sense. They were so beautiful, okay? They were like, oh, God is not here, but we are here. So whenever I sleep, I am close to God. So that is very, very beautiful because that is the truth. That's why you feel so rejuvenated when you get a good night's sleep. Okay. Mathematics. Okay, this also can only be explained using Albanian because mat means literally to measure. Okay, you see that I have put like a full explanation here, but we don't need because matik means literally, matik means it's again mat means measure the measurement or measure twice, and that's all we get. So yeah, and that's it. It means literally just measure. Biology. This is also a very this is we know that in Greek, bio means life or an organism, but it also means offspring. It also just means bia, offspring. So the offspring of any living form, which is why this name is called biology. Mhm. Okay. Then we have the word human. Here it's quite easy as well. Man, which means I think or I hold. I hold. I carry. Yeah. Mental, coming from the word man. Don't need to say anything more about that, obviously. Man is mind. And man is to hold. It literally means to hold. To hold in your head. Because it's always associated with the mind. The letter a is of the mind. Yeah, I explained this. We all, the new everything, the new all. Okay, this is quite a more comprehensive text here. Paradox, we all know what that means, but in this instance, it also means para, first, beforehand, or before, and dok, which means appearing as, seeming, something that seems as something. But you would also realize that dok is not never what it is. If something is dok, then it is not that. That's what you know, because it is an appearance. It is seeming. It is deceiving. Okay. Which means that the first dok or before dok. So this means that literally it's elucidates the fact that you will be fooled by its first impression. Okay. Then you have the word paradigm. Paradigm is very beautiful as well because it explains to us paradigm, demon apart. Demon apart is the first knowledge. Dimapar is both the first knowledge but also the knowledge beforehand. So when we have a paradigm shift, we are shifting from demon apart to demon edut. Okay, the second knowledge. We're going from the first knowledge, what is now the status quo, right? Let's take an example. Isaac Newton's theory, right? And then came Einstein, which then created a paradigm shift because we didn't believe that quantum physics existed, or we didn't know that quantum physics existed and how that would implicate Isaac's Newton's theory of gravity. Okay. So that's that. That's what it means. Paradigm is the first knowledge. And then we have paradis. Okay, this is also very beautiful because this is also very spiritual. To my audience out there, don't trust me, I mean, but our ancestors were very beautiful. That's all I can say. Paradise means para, beforehand, right? Beforehand. This time it's not first. It's not the first knowledge, but this time it is before. Paradis. Disa means the knowledge, or knowledge, just knowledge itself. So this means before knowledge. So what was before knowledge? Paradise. And what was paradise? Earth. Okay. So the moment we grew in knowledge, we left paradise. We left earth, the beautiful earth that consists of all the plants and animals in nature and the righteousness of it all. And we became selfish human beings. We became cunning, intellectual. We could trick people now. We could fool them because we knew things that they didn't. And through that, we could fool them and manipulate them. And we have been doing that ever since. That's why our civilization looks the way it does. Okay, that was a bit grim, but that's how it is out here. So unfortunately, I don't mean to be grim. I just mean to be very realistic. Okay, so this is what it means. But in essence, what we are finding is that these words are older than religion itself. Religion is recent. Goodness gracious, religion is recent. It's so recent that, I mean, it's been a hijack of our previous knowledge that has been just hijacked by religion. They just took it over, renamed it, which is why we get the word religion. Religion. Legion ire. So our new law. They came in and they made a new law, and the law was supposed to teach you about reality and remove the old law, which was paradis. Okay. But the religion came much later though, so don't worry. So this took a long, long time to happen before religion came. Religion is very, very recent. Okay, whilst it took us hundred thousands of years to create language. Okay, and last but not least, the big one. This is the big one. Britain, Briton. Okay. Now, the Brits themselves, my lovely Brits out there, I love you. I love every British person out there. Not everyone, but like you get me. I love the British spirit. I love the British people. And we are so ridiculously closely related to one another that you wouldn't even expect it or know about it, which is kind of counterintuitive in terms of, or especially because England is famous for its knowledge. It's all these universities, all these journals, all these forums and historical significance in terms of gathering knowledge and analyzing and conducting proper research. You would expect that they would have they would have gotten so far to actually understand their own language, but they haven't, which is where I am coming in. So, but yes, Briton means our horns, because we mustn't forget that Britain was part of the Roman Empire, and the Roman Empire consisted of Illyrians and Romans, which were all the same language. They spoke the same language, more or less. It was just the elites who didn't. Elite spoke a written. They started distinguishing themselves from the people because they didn't want to be perceived as the people. They were above the people, so they needed another language, and a language that only the elites could understand, so that they could properly distance themselves from the people. Okay. See, the manipulation scheme has been going on for a very, very long time. But this manipulation scheme is a matter of cunningness and intellect that is used against one another to create gains, personal gains. Okay. But let's not go into that because that's a different story. But this is what we get. The etymological breakdown. Horn, bri means horn, protrusion, peak, tan, ours belonging to us, our collective domain. And that's what it was. England was the horn of the Roman Empire. If you remember, if you could look at the map, you will see that it stretches out to the island of England, of Britain, and that became their horn. So, my loved ones, now you know the etymological name of and the etymological breakup of all these words. Thank you for listening, and I will be sharing some more episodes as we go along. So, so see you next time, and have a good day.